Welcome to SATV News. This is Tushamin with the headlines. Daksu voting concludes. Vote counting is underway. Results expected to be announced tonight. Daksu can be a model for national elections, says Home Advisor. Polling staff highly educated. Citizens can now get NIDs from age 16. No GD needed for replacement, says EC Secretary Akhtar Ahmed. Now in details. Voting for the Dhaka University Central Students Union and the Hall Student Union elections concluded this afternoon, following an uninterrupted polling process from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For the first time in the university's history, polling centers were established outside the residential halls and held in academic buildings, aiming to ensure greater fairness and transparency. Nearly 40,000 students register as voters at 8 centers across the campus, with 810 booths set up to facilitate voting. Polling location included Curzon Hall, Physical Education Center, TSC, Dhaka University Club, Senate Building, Udayan School and College, Department of Geology and University Laboratory School and College. The highest turnout was recorded at the Udayan School and College Center, which serves over 6,000 students from Surjo Sen, Zia, Sheikh Mujib and Joshimuddin halls. While voter numbers slightly declined compared to previous elections, the number of candidates rose significantly. A total of 471 candidates are contesting for 28 Daksu positions, while 1,035 candidates are vying for 234 posts in the Hall Student Union elections. Vote counting is currently underway, with results expected to be announced later tonight. Meanwhile, Home Affairs Advisor, retired Lieutenant General MD Jahangir Alam Choudhury today described the Daksu poll as a model for the national election, reiterating the government's commitment to a peaceful and festive vote. The voters are exercising their votes in the Daksu election spontaneously. It is not exactly the same as the national election, but it is a model. The Daksu election can be a model for the national election, he said. The Home Advisor made these remarks following a meeting of the Advisory Council on Law and Order at the Secretariat. He also said discussions were held with Dhaka University Vice Chancellor about the Daksu elections on Monday. The voters in the Daksu elections, the educated society, the presiding officers and polling officers are also highly educated, added the advisor. The Election Commission will now issue national identity cards to citizens from the age of 16. Aiming to ease access to essential services well before the voting age of 18. Citizens who are 16 years old or older can apply for NID registration. This allows the commissions to preserve preliminary data in advance, and they will receive NIDs, says EC Secretary Akhtar Ahmed during a briefing at the Election Commission building today. Many services required an NID, such as for students going abroad to study, opening a bank account or seeking medical treatment overseas. So having an NID becomes essential, he explained. The Secretary added that the initiative would ease difficulties faced by citizens without an NID. While NIDs will be issued from the age of 16, individuals would automatically be enrolled as voters once they turn 18. Mr. Akhtar also announced a procedural change for lost NIDs. Losing an NID will no longer require our general diary to reapply, saving both time and hassle. This initiative has been taken to simplify NID services for citizens, he said. BNP senior leader Goyeshwar Chandra Roy on Tuesday expressed hope that candidates backed by Jatiyotawadi Chhatra Dal will win the Dhaka University Central Students Union and Hall Union elections. BNP is optimistic about the victory of the nationalist forces, he said while speaking to reporters at BNP founder Ziaur Rahman's grave. Replying to a question, he said they have not received any news that might cause concern about the election. Goyeshwar, a BNP Standing Committee member, said conscious students of Dhaka University will elect their representatives according to the choices in a fair and credible atmosphere. There is no reason to worry about the DASCO election. The students are alert and know what is best, he added. The BNP leader further said students belonging to different organizations could not remain on campus or carry out normal activities for a long time during the Awami League rule. Only the ruling party's student body could carry out one-sided activities, while other parties had no scope to expand their activities. Although murder incidents appear to have risen sharply during the 13 months of the interim government, data suggests the increase is due to previously suppressed cases now being filed. According to the Chief Advisor's Press Wing, a comparative review of crime statistics from 2020 to August 2025 now shows notable shifts in reporting trends since the interim government assumed office last year. At least 1,130 murders committed during the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's 16-year tenure were formally recorded only after the August 2024 revolution, it said. Many of these cases had been blocked under political pressure or discouraged by police officers at the time, particularly when linked to people from the then ruling party. The rise in crimes in 2025 reflects broader access to justice, as victims previously denied the chance to file complaints are now coming forward, said the press wing. Police stations are operating with greater neutrality and accessibility, he added. The victims can now launch cases without fear of political intimidation, and police officers are no longer blocking complaints, it said. A dope test for candidates contesting for the Jahangirnagar University Central Students' Union election is being held today. The test began at 10 a.m. at the university's medical center, as per announced in a notification signed by the University Election Commission yesterday. In this regard, Professor A.K.M. Rashidul Alam, Member Secretary of the Election Commission and the university's proctor, said a meeting of the commission was held with students where the decision was to conduct a dope test was taken based on the majority opinion. In response to this demand, all candidates have been brought under the purview of the dope test. The Election Commission notification stated, keeping in mind that the candidates' election campaigns should not be disrupted, samples for the dope test will be collected according to a hall-based schedule. Candidates participating in the Jaksu and Hall Parliament elections are requested to be present and submit samples to complete the dope test. Viewers, taking a short break, stay with us.
পায়ের নুপুর ছন্দ মনে হচ্ছে কি ছু দিয়ে জাদু মন্ত্র এক্স্যাক্টলি পায়ের নুপুর
অরিক্স স্পেশাল সেলিব্রিটি শো তারকার ঝলক দেখবেন প্রতি শুক্রবার রাত 9:30 মিনিটে।
ভালোবাসা একবার তুমি বউ কইয়া ডাকো।
হ্যাঁ গো,
আর কত দূর?
আরে আমি তো ফিডের গাড়ির লগে।
তোমার গরু হাঁস মুরগি মাছ তো অনশন শুরু কইরা দিছে।
কি কও? অনশন শুরু কইরা দিছে?
কেডা?
হাঁস মুরগি মাছ।
আরে ওগো মতি গতি দেখা মনে হইতাছে এসএফএন ছাড়া কিছুই খাইবো না।
হ্যাঁ গো, এসে ফিডের খবর ওরা জানলো কেমনে?
আরে ভালো জিনিসের খবর ছড়াতে কি আর মাইক লাগে? খবর ভাসে বাতাসে বাতাসে।
আরে দেখো, এসে ফিডের জাদু।
সম্পূর্ণ নিজস্ব তত্ত্বাবধানে বিশেষজ্ঞদের সমন্বয়ে প্রস্তুত হয় এসএ ফিডের পশু খাদ্য। অত্যাধুনিক প্রযুক্তিতে তৈরি এই পশু খাদ্য যেমন নিরাপদ তেমনি স্বাস্থ্যকর। এসএ ফিড, নিরাপদ ফিড, স্বাস্থ্যকর প্রোটিন। এসএ অ্যাগ্রোফিডস লিমিটেড একটি এসএ গ্রুপ অফ কোম্পানিজের প্রতিষ্ঠান।
Grand Palace, 5-star chain hotel, Zinda Bazaar, Sylhet. Local and international cuisines. Exclusive banquet hall for all events. 5-star luxurious rooms and suites with bulletproof glass. Fiberglass swimming pool. Relaxing spa. Well-equipped gym. Experience panoramic beauty at SATV restaurant. Welcome to Grand Palace Hotel. Grand Palace Hotel and Resorts, Jollar Par, Zinda Bazar, Silet, Bangladesh.
Welcome back. You're watching SATV News. Now news from abroad. After 19 people were killed and hundreds injured in a massive protest by the youth and clashes with the law enforcement in Kathmandu, Nepal, the cabinet led by Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has finally lifted the ban on 26 social media platforms. Anaf Hussain has the details.
After the meeting, Nepal's Minister for Communications, Information and Broadcasting, Prithvi Gurung, told reporters the government has accepted the demands of Gen Z and has decided to lift the ban on social media. Now, our request to the protester is that you calm down and go home. However, international media reported that a curfew has been imposed in various parts of the country, including the capital, Kathmandu. After protesters took to the street for the second consecutive day, the police are trying to push back the protesters. However, the anger of the protesters has been directed at the Oli-led government, which is considered to be increasingly unpopular. Since Monday, 2 ministers in the Oli government have resigned, and the protesters have also demanded the resignation of the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, after the Home Minister, Nepal's Agriculture and Animal Husbandry Development Minister Ramnath Adhikari has resigned in the face of the Gen Z protests. He submitted his resignation on Tuesday in protest against the government's authoritarian response to Monday protests. This information was reported by Nepali media, the Kathmandu Post in a report. In addition, Nepali Congress General Secretary Gagan Thapa called on Prime Minister Oli to resign, taking moral responsibility for the deaths of 19 people in the Gen Z protests. Thapa said, "Innocent youth have been killed unnecessarily. The Prime Minister must take responsibility for this repression and resign immediately." Earlier, the movement that started in Nepal against the decision to close social media platforms and government corruption led by the Gen Z generation reached the streets from the online. The protests that started in the country's capital, Kathmandu, turned into terrible violence. The protesters were led by students and youth. They took to the streets to protest corruption and government irregularities. They resisted the police water cannons, tear gas shells and rubber bullets with sticks, tree branches and water bottles. The protesters chanted a slogan at every turn. Some even entered the National Parliament building. The movement started in Nepal under the leadership of the Gen Z has once again proven that today's youth are no longer willing to tolerate injustice in silence. This message has clearly reached the government that it is not possible to silence their voices by blocking social media or through repression. The government has finally been forced to back down due to the sacrifice and awareness of the youth. Although there have been tragic incidents such as the loss of life, this movement will go down in history as a symbol of the struggle of youth people for a democratic and accountable society. SATV International Desk.
At least 21 people have been killed by Israeli attacks across Gaza since Tuesday dawn. Among those killed are many aid seekers. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened what he's calling an intense ground operation in the Gaza city, warning Palestinians in the northern urban center to leave. Hamas has condemned Netanyahu's threats and denounced the ongoing destruction of Gaza City's high-rise, including the As-Salam Tower, as one of the most heinous images of sadism and criminality. Israel's genocide on Gaza has killed at least 64,605 people and wounded 163,319 since October 7, 2023. Thousands more are believed to be under the rubble. More than 20 civilians were killed in a Russian airstrike on the village in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday, calling for Kyiv's allies to increase pressure on Moscow to end its war in Ukraine. It was a brutally savage Russian airstrike with an aerial bomb on the rural settlement of Yarova in the Donetsk region. It directly hit people, ordinary citizens. The strike was launched at the very moment when pensions were being disbursed. He wrote on X and shared a video showing bodies scattered near a destroyed car. The world must not remain silent. The world must not remain idle. A response is needed from the United States. A response is needed from the Europe. A response is needed from the G20, added the Ukrainian president.
Пошкоджено будівлю Кабміну. На цей час відомо про
France's parliament voted on Monday to bring down the government over its plan to tame the ballooning national debt, deepening a political crisis and handing President Emmanuel Macron the task of finding a fifth prime minister in less than 2 years. Francis Bayrou took office as prime minister only 9 months ago. He had called the vote unexpectedly to try to win parliamentary support for his strategy to lower a deficit that stands at nearly double the European Union's 3% ceiling and to start tackling a debt pile equivalent to 114% of GDP. Macron could now nominate a politician from his own centralist minority ruling group or from the ranks of conservatives as the next premier. But that would mean doubling down on a strategy that has failed to yield a stable alliance. Meanwhile, French far-right National Rally leader Jordan Bardella on Tuesday called for snap elections following Bayrou's ouster. Bardella said only by dissolving parliament or resigning would Macron unblock the gridlock. Otherwise, the same causes will lead to the same consequences and will by definition lead to censure of the government. Norway's minority Labour Party government won a second term in power on Monday, while the populist right achieved its best ever elections. Incumbent Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre, Labour and 4 smaller left-leaning parties won 87 seats, above the 85 needed for a majority with 99% of ballots counted. According to analysts, Støre will now remain heavily reliant on his smaller allies. To get their backing, he will likely face tough decisions over issues such as tax hikes for the wealthy, future oil exploration and divestment by Norway's $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund from Israeli companies. Allied Democratic Forces rebels using machetes killed more than 50 civilians at a funeral in eastern Congo, the latest large-scale attack by the Islamic State bloc group, officials said. The attack took place on Monday night in the town of Toyo in North Kivu province, Lubero's territory, said Makir Sivikunula, a local administrator. The victims were caught off guard at a mourning ceremony in the village of Toa at 9 p.m. and most of them were killed with machetes, he added. The search is continuing. Colonel Alan Kiwiwa, the military administrator for Lubero, said that the toll was around 60 and could rise as there were still people missing. Last month, the ADF killed more than 50 civilians in multiple attacks, while an ADF attack in July on the church left 38 dead. Thailand's former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra arrived at the Bangkok remand prison on Tuesday following a Supreme Court ruling. Thailand's Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that Thaksin must serve 1 year in jail because his detention in a VIP wing of a hospital in lieu of prison was unlawful, in another major blow for a powerful family that has dominated politics for 2 decades. The judges say Thaksin did not have severe illness and his hospitalization could not be counted as time served, adding the responsibility did not solely lie with the doctors and that the polarizing billionaire intentionally prolonged his hospital stay. Shinawatra is experiencing a period of political reckoning after his daughter and Potenti Pethantortan Shinawatra was sacked as Prime Minister by a court on August 29th. The sixth premier from or backed by the Shinawatra family to be removed by the judiciary, all military. Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez expressed on Monday doubt about the United States' intention to move warships near Venezuela's coast to combat drug trafficking. The top official spoke at a press conference in Caracas, where she said cocaine is moved through the Pacific Ocean, not the Caribbean, where the U.S. has scaled up its military presence. Rodriguez's words come after the U.S. ordered the deployment of an additional 10 fighter jets to Puerto Rico to carry out operation against drug cartels. Maduro's government has accused the U.S. of seeking a regime change. Donald Trump said on Friday that the United States is not talking about a regime change, but compared the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans in overdoses to the war dead, as he sought to justify the masculine military activity in the Caribbean. Before ending, we'll go to the headlines again. Daksu voting concludes. Vote counting is underway. Results expected to be announced tonight. Daksu can be a model for national elections, says Home Advisor. Polling staff highly educated. Citizens can now get NIDs from age 16. No GD needed for replacement, says EC Secretary Akhtar Ahmed. You're updated with the top stories so far here on SATV, and to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with SATV.